Hello everybody and welcome back to yet another episode of Weird Disney Cars Diecast Errors and Inconsistencies. This is the first episode of 2021 and hopefully this year we'll have more than 2 episodes. Anyway, of course this is the series where I go over 10 weird Disney Cars errors and inconsistencies across the several different Cars toy lines. So, let's get started. Alright, so you guys are all probably well aware of Mattel's tendency to give race cars the wrong name or the wrong image. This has been happening since the release of Cars 3. There have been several occasions of the Cars 1 and Cars 3 racers having their names swapped. But this rarely ever goes beyond the packaging. It rarely ever goes beyond the name tag and the artwork. It rarely ever affects the car itself. But this is one of the cases of a time in which Mattel messing up the name of a car actually affected the diecast. This is the Thomasville Racing Legends Parker Braikston, who has his name written on his side as H.J. Hollis, the next gen of his sponsor, N2O, instead of his own name. Alright guys, I'm really sorry for the terrible quality on the picture for this one, but this is the only picture I could find of this error. So these are the pictures of the prototypes of the XRS Mud Racers. This was our first look at the set of them, and it leaked way back in 2018, a few months before the cars themselves were released. We got a look at the prototypes for 6 of them: Lightning, Jackson, Cruz, Barry D. Peddle, Cal Weathers, and finally Reb Meeker. However, the final assortment of the Mud Racers included Lightning, Jackson, Cruz, Barry, Cal, and released about a month after the others, Speedy Comet instead of Reb Meeker. Interestingly, we've gotten 2 additional waves of Mud Racers since, and we still haven't gotten Reb Meeker. This is just a really interesting case where it seems that they obviously swapped out what car they were going to make. Maybe that's why Speedy was released a month after the other ones, because they decided to replace Reb Meeker with him. I wonder why. I think it's really a shame that we never got this Reb Meeker, because he does look pretty cool. For spot number 3 here, let's talk about Wingo, or more specifically, Wingo's ridiculous spoiler. Now, in the first Cars movie and in every subsequent appearance of Wingo, his spoiler actually has red paint on the sides of it, sort of like a swirling flame-ish design, very similar to the other details on him. This is not only present on the sides of the spoiler, but also on his back, and ever since day 1, Wingo's diecast has been missing that detailing. Not only is it missing from the spoiler, it's just missing from the back of Wingo in general. I think that's really disappointing. I get why it wasn't painted on the spoiler. That's a separate plastic piece, but it's not even on the back. Now, Wingo's Disney Store variant, though, that actually does have the accurate detailing. Alright, this next one is one that I just find pretty funny. If you look closely at Vladimir Trunkov with car boot here, you'll notice the fact that on the artwork, the boot is on the wrong wheel compared to the diecast. Now, the boot that the wheel is on the diecast is the accurate one. It's supposed to be on the back left wheel. But since the cars and their artwork are always shown, for the most part, with their right side facing us, they decided to just put it on the wheel that we could see for the artwork, even though it's the wrong wheel. Hey, remember just a few seconds ago when I mentioned the fact that Slider Petrolsky is facing the other way in his artwork? Surprise! That's the next entry on the list, or rather, more specifically, while most of the cars in the 2019 to 2020 Blue Desert line are shown facing the right in their artwork, 2 singles, not counting Luigi and Guido since they share a picture, are facing the other way, those being Slider and McQueen with sign. And now it's time for another naming error. This one's pretty interesting. The name of this minor Cars character, according to Car Finder and the Meet the Cars book, is Swift Alternator, Netter, but his diecast release names him Swift Alternator, Nator. Now, I'm not sure which of these is supposed to be accurate. I'd assume Swift Alternator is probably his name, but I'm not sure. Swift's diecast hasn't been re-released ever, so if that does happen, we'll just have to see if they go with the name Alternator or Alternator. Our next 2 entries for the day will be focusing around this 2-pack because there are 2 errors in it. The 2019 2-pack of Waitress Mia Tia features the wrong artwork for them. going with their usual artwork of them and their usual paint jobs instead of the accurate Waitress artwork. That's the first error. And the second one is the fact that they were put into the Dynaco 400 series instead of the Radiator Spring series. The Waitress Mia Tia paint jobs, that look for them, only ever shows up in Radiator Springs, of course, in the credits of the first Cars movie. They were never at the Dynaco 400 in this paint job. They were not waitresses there, they're waitresses at Flo's, so, yeah, 2 errors in 1. On a similar note, spot number 9 here focuses around another car inaccurately put into the wrong series. The 2018 Mario Andretti re-release put him in the Dynaco 400 series, despite the fact that he never showed up at the Dynaco 400 Speedway. He wasn't there for the Dynaco 400 race in the first Cars movie, at least we don't see him there. He only ever appeared at the LA Speedway later on in the movie. Of course, he was put into the Dynaco 400 series because that basically became the general Piston Cup series for the first Cars movie after Cars 3 came out. Cars 3 got the Piston Cup Racers series and the Next Gen series, and the first movie got Dynaco 400 as sort of a all-encompassing term for Cars 1 Piston Cup themed cars, even if they didn't appear at the actual Dynaco 400. And as per usual, for our final entry of the day, we're going to be covering a different, more unique Cars toy line, specifically the Lego Cars line. I absolutely loved the original run of Cars Lego sets from back in 2011 and 2012. I have such vivid memories of getting them and playing with them. Some of them are still among my favorite Lego sets to this day. And one of my favorite Cars sets, probably my personal favorite one, was set 9486, the Oil Rig Escape. I absolutely loved this set when I was little, but there's just one thing about it that's really, really odd and pretty morbid. Included in this set was the crushed garbage cube that was formerly Agent Leland Turbo, and if including that wasn't messed up enough, they gave him eyes. He has eyes. The garbage cube in the movie doesn't have eyes, but here, the Lego version of Leland has eyes, and they're open. He can still see. Are we to assume he's still alive? He's just now compacted into a garbage cube? I don't know. Obviously, Lego was probably trying to make it more comedic and more cartoony and a bit more lighthearted by giving him eyes, but I don't know. That's a living Cars character who was turned into a garbage cube, and he can still see. Ugh. Anyway, guys, thank you all so much for watching this episode of Weird Errors and Inconsistencies. I'll see you guys next time. Bye now.